Ethos, Pathos, and Logos in the Biology Discourse Community by me, Amelia Axelson. The biology discourse community focuses on understanding living organisms and applying that knowledge to fields such as healthcare, environmental science, and biotechnology. It aims at improving biological sciences and deals with actual world problems. Members communicate using scholarly journals, conferences, and collaborative platforms. They communicate the results and developments in the field through a variety of writing formats, including research papers, lab reports, and review articles and grant proposals. The two pieces I chose to review are Emily Harrison's The Role of Epigenetics in the Cancer Development and Treatment, and How Epigenetics Affect Your Health, hosted by Michael Ningen, which is a podcast on the Science Today, and he talks about epigenetics. Harrison's piece uses more technical language and more scientific language to comprehend the data and engage with the academic audience, while the podcast uses simple language and relatable examples to reach a broader audience so more people are able to understand it. This comparison shows how different rhetoric styles effectively communicate complicated scientific subjects to a range of audiences. So anyone could listen to the podcast because it would be a little bit easier to understand, while the scientific article might be a little bit harder to comprehend. The ethos used in Emily Harrison's article, she used peer review. So like other people helped her write the article, and then she used credible sources to help write it, and then she has the technical expertise on it, so she knows a lot about what she's talking about, and that just gives her a lot more credibility. And then the podcast, he is also very knowledgeable about scientific topics, and he has a very professional presentation, so when he's presenting it, you don't have any thoughts being like, oh, this might not be credible or anything. And then his intent is for it to be educational. Both pieces have a lot of pathos in it, such as Emily Harrison's article. In her article, she talks about the human suffering and hope because she talks about cancer research a lot, and she's given them promise of progress, saying that maybe in a couple years that there might be a cure or they're working towards one. And then she also gives all the ethical aspects of cancer research and treatments, showing what they do to research it and how they could possibly find treatments. While in the podcast, he gives personal stories about his life, and then he also gives a lot of personal relevance. So he brings up a bunch of examples that everyone in their day-to-day life can relate to. And then he also gives future possibilities of how the epigenetics can develop and change. And then there's logos. In the article, in Emily Harrison's article, she has a logical structure. So the paper is very well formatted and written out, and then she has a lot of citations and references that are all credible sources. And then she uses a comparative analysis to compare hers to other scientific articles and stuff. And then the podcast, he has a lot of scientific research, which he also cites and credits. And then he has logical explanations for everything he's saying, which makes it easier for somebody who's not a bio major or in the bio discourse community to understand. My analysis is that both pieces use adjusted rhetoric to meet their distinct audience of academics and the general public, demonstrating that different rhetorical tactics can effectively express complicated scientific concepts. Harrison's use of facts and technical terminology contrasts with the podcast's use of plain language and personal health examples, emphasizing the discourse community's different rhetorical techniques. This comparison demonstrates how the biological discourse community's rhetoric adapts to its audience, improving knowledge and engaging with complex topics. And then this is my works cited. That's all for my presentation. I hope that you learned something and you enjoyed it. Thank you.